Let's now take you to the Kenya National Theatre in Nairobi's Central Business District, where the Raise Pigs Right public dialogue is about to kick off. I see a familiar face on the other side. I hand over now, and that event, let me now take you rather to that live event moderated by Jackie Maribe.
Right, indeed. Thank you, Wahiga Mora, speaking to us live from the Citizen Studios. Welcome to the Raise Pigs Right campaign at the Kenya National Theatre. On behalf of the World Animal Protection, I'd like to thank all of you that have joined us this morning for this public dialogue. I'll be your moderator today, and my name is Jackie Maribe. Now, as we begin, as you have heard, this is a campaign that is about raising pigs right. By a show of hands, let me see how many of you enjoy your pork products. Anyone ate sausage in the morning or this week? But how many of you know that as much as you have human rights, animals have rights as well? Show of hands. Yes, I can see an excited lot down there. I'd like us to get straight into the program, and I'd like to welcome the Africa Country Director, Mr. Tennyson Williams, to give us opening remarks. Karibu sana. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Williams.
Thank you very much, Jackie. This is a moment of truth in some ways, because we are talking about raising pigs' rights. As Jackie said, human beings have rights, animals have rights, pigs have rights. But the conversation today is not so much about rights. It's about raising awareness that we can do even better, because by doing what we should be doing for pigs, we're actually doing it in our own interests. Because the truth of the matter is, if you do the right thing to animals such as pigs, you raise them in the right conditions, one of which will be to allow them to scavenge, which is something they will do naturally, which also requires you to put them in the right kind of environment for them to grow in, and that includes having grass to lay down and just get into the dirty water, do their maneuverings, and then have the piglets suckle from the mother naturally without restricting them. All of that will make the pigs happier, them being raised in a healthier way. And then obviously, whatever you do to them for your own benefit, then benefits you even more. So what we are doing is actually a reflection of a decision made by the management and board of World Animal Protection, that in the month of April, all across our offices around the world will be observing a moment for pigs, so which we call a milestone moment. And here in Kenya, what we've done as a build-up to this day is to organize an art event where young people have been able to express very clearly the kind of messages that I've been talking about with relation to pigs, or in relation to pigs. So we've been having an art exhibition within the premise of the Kenya National Theatre, and we are very pleased and happy that young people have been part and parcel of this process. I am sure today here with us, young people are still available on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, actually driving traffic to our platform, so that the world out there is able to see and appreciate that what we're trying to do is actually in our interest, even as we do it in the interest of animals. So the Africa program, which I lead, and my team, we are proud that this is happening. We are putting pigs on the agenda. This is novelty. Things that we take for granted should not be, because our lives depend upon the very animals that we do so much injustice. So whether we are aware of what we do or not should not be an excuse. So we hope that moving forward from this live event, we will be in a different place, because Africa itself is moving on. One of the things that we must be aware of is Africa's population is estimated at 1 billion at the moment. In 2050, it is projected to double to 2 billion. And alongside that doubling, the thing that is interesting also is food requirements will also be affected. The kinds of production systems will also be affected. And ultimately, what we do to these animals will be affected. So that consciousness is very important that we are aware of, and we become part and parcel of the change that we need to be. It's all about behavior change. It's all about awareness. It's all about our commitments. My last point to all of you is that what we are doing is also affecting things that are happening at the very highest level of this continent. Very recently, the heads of states of Africa, about 54, 55 countries, as you know, gathered together in Addis Ababa, and for the first time, they have endorsed the first animal welfare strategy for Africa. That's a big step. When you talk about animal welfare, it used to be a foreign or Western idea. But the truth of the matter is our animals have been with us for the last number of centuries on this continent. We know we love our animals, but we probably have not thought about it in the way that the Western world had thought about it. So what we are doing at World Animal Protection, alongside initiatives like this, is to raise consciousness, is to raise awareness, is to work with government, to work with academia, and to work with young people. We are very hopeful, we are convinced, and we owe no apology to anyone for the position we have taken. Because if you treat pigs right, if you raise pigs right, you're actually doing it in your own interest. So thank you very much. I wish all of us a very good engagement, and I hope you take the message out there, even as I hand back to Jackie.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Mr. Williams. I'd like now to invite the CEO, World Animal Protection Global Office, Mr. Steve McIver, to come and give his opening remarks as well, for the benefit of you watching us at home, and even you here, our live audience. Do feel free to join in this conversation. It's a conversation we'd like to take beyond the screens. As Mr. Williams has said, it's a conversation we need to have. So we have two hashtags today. One is Raise Pigs Right. I'll repeat, that's Raise Pigs Right. Our second hashtag for the day is Animals Matter AF. That's Africa. Animals Matter AF. Welcome, Mr. McIver.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be here in Nairobi, actually for the second time that I've had an opportunity to come here to Kenya. And I have to say, this is, for me, the most exciting moment as we really take on an issue as important as the treatment of pigs across the continent as part of a global initiative, as Tennyson, our country director, was talking about earlier, to make people aware of the way in which pigs are reared and treated in industrial farming systems today. And this is a real global challenge. When we talk about animal suffering, we're really talking, when we look at pigs, about the second most produced animal in the world, and therefore one of the species that suffers most when it comes to the impact of cruelty. And pig production is growing at an incredible rate. And production of animals in farms, of course, is increasing rapidly across Asia and across Africa. And it's increasing, obviously, because of economic improvements and because people want to shift their diets. What we don't want to do, though, is shift production systems into those that were first set out by producers in the United States and then spread across the world, a little like a cancer, I have to say, where our animals are no longer treated as sentient feeling beings. And bear in mind that pigs are as intelligent, in fact more intelligent than dogs, who spend a lot of time more closely in our lives and in our communities. But we put those pigs into industrial units, huge warehouse-style buildings with concreted floors, and many of them live in very isolated conditions. So a mother pig, for instance, will exist in a crate that really is the size of a fridge, unable to turn around, unable to really nurture or suckle her young, as Tennyson was mentioning earlier. And of course, because they're in such challenging conditions, such inhumane conditions, they also, when they are in groups together, will often bite tails or injure each other. So their tails are cut off, their teeth are clipped, all of which is trying to force living beings into unnatural environments to exist together for their short lives to produce the food that we enjoy. So it's time that we took action, and it's great to be here with so many people and with so many young people and creative people as we celebrate some of the art that's been produced that really sets out, I think, very well both the tragedy but also the hope that perhaps we have for pigs across Africa. So a great pleasure to be here, and I'll hand you back now as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the CEO, World Animal Protection Global Office. But just to give you a feel of what World Animal Protection does and why it is so important to have conversations like these going, like the CEO has said, this time it's pigs, before it has been dogs. There has been a conversation on broiler chicken as well. How many of you are familiar with the phrase, we are what we eat? Right? We are, at the end of the day, what we eat. So we're going to play you a short video now, if that is ready to go up on air, just to explain what World Animal Protection is and what World Animal Protection rather does.
Change is happening. For 50 years, we've been there. When animal suffering was at its worst, at its most far-reaching. To vaccinate stray dogs and save them from being killed for fear of rabies. To end the cruelty of bear dancing for good. And to protect animals from the devastating impact of natural disasters. We want to end the needless suffering of animals for good. But to do it, we need to stand out, to be clear, to be memorable. And that's why we are evolving. We are now World Animal Protection. Our name has changed, but our focus remains the same. Every day, we protect animals. We influence decision makers. And we inspire people to change animals' lives for the better. Together, we can move the world to protect animals. Join us.
To get this conversation going, I shall now introduce our panelists for the session that we will be having, because this is a public dialogue. And remember our hashtags today, because feel free to join in this conversation. We would like to hear your comments and your questions, and just basically why you would think that this initiative is important for you back at home as a consumer, as a farmer as well. Our hashtags are Raise Pigs Right. Our second hashtag is Animals Matter AF. I'll take you through that again. Our hashtags for today are Raise Pigs Right and Animals Matter AF. Do feel free to join this conversation, and we will have our panelists who are joining us now answering your questions. We will take your questions as well. If you feel that there's anything that hasn't been answered to the best of your satisfaction, or why pigs, why do you think this conversation is timely or not, in your opinion, feel free to raise those questions with us. We shall put them directly to our panelists, who, number one, is Dr. Joshua Amimo. Now, Dr. Mimo is a lecturer at the University of Nairobi in the Department of Animal Production, the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, teaching animal genetics and breeding. Now, prior to his appointment at the university, he was a research technologist on livestock breeding strategies for low-input production systems, operating projects at the International Livestock Research Institute, commonly known as ILRI. In the project on capacity building for sustainable use of ANGR in the developing countries. Dr. Mimo has also written and co-written a number of articles, yes, on the welfare of animals. Our second panelist today is Dr. Victor Yamo. Dr. Yamo is a veterinary surgeon who has spent most of his career life working in different areas within the African poultry industry, as well as within production systems to improve the productivity of chicken. He's currently working with World Animal Protection as the Human and Sustainable Agriculture Campaigns Manager, where he works with African governments to develop animal welfare policies. And this is the panel that we will be having this morning. Thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. Yamo, Dr. Mimo. And I'll get right into why we are having this conversation today, raising pigs right. And I'll start with you, Dr. Yamo. What is animal welfare in a general context?
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, viewers. Animal welfare is how an animal copes with the environment in which it lives. Simply put, is how the animal is surviving in that environment in which it is living in. It then means that there are various aspects of animal welfare that we need to be looking at. If I may just start from the top, it means that we need to look at how the environment itself, the house where the animal is living, we need to look at its nutrition and how it is fed. We need to look at how we manage diseases in that environment, and we also need to look at how the environment allows the animal to live and exhibit its natural tendencies.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Yamo. I'll go to you, Dr. Mimo. Tell us, how is the Kenyan pig production in the Kenyan context, obviously, the total numbers, the largest producing counties, and the type of production as well?
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie, and good morning, viewers. First of all, I want to acknowledge what Steve, the CEO, have said. Pig is the most widely produced, second most from chicken, but the pork is the most widely meat that is being consumed in the world. It has gone beyond the chicken. So Kenya, the population of pigs in Kenya is dwindling, is not much. It is around 500,000. That is what is by 2009 census, but we expect that it is more because the census didn't capture some of the pigs. We have the most producing region, I will give by region rather than the counties, is the central region of Kenya, which has over 100,000 pigs, followed by Western Kenya, which has around 90,000. But the central has it because we have the biggest commercial producer, Farmer's Choice, in the central region, which produces much of the central province. Out of these 500,000 pigs, 70% of them are in the smallholder hands. And their production system, there are two production systems in Kenya where we have the commercial system, somehow semi-commercial system, because our commercial system cannot be compared with commercial system in the world. Then the second one is the smallholder system, which is the free-ranging pigs. The pigs that are just kept partly housed and partly free-ranging also. So these are the two systems, and the free-ranging system constitute almost 70%.
What is the global context of that? Because that's the Kenyan context you're giving us. How is pig production globally looking like now?
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie. Yeah, in the global context, we have close to 1 billion pigs in the world. And out of this, China has 50% of it. And for sure, The reason why China has this big percentage is the population also. China has several, I think, is it 2 billion people? And they have to feed, they have to survive. So, and China also moved very fast in the pig production system just recently in 1980s, where they were having higher percentage of smallholder, but then they started a campaign of one Chinese, one pig. And currently they are the leading pig producer, followed by EU in general, then US.
Dr. Yamo, there's a demand for cheaper pork products. And yet we're seeing that this, of course, is making those who are rearing pigs want to have larger numbers of production, the piglets that they will get. But then they look like they're cutting corners. Is this the situation that we're facing now in Kenya, that they're cutting corners so that they can increase productivity to meet the demand, yet the supply is not, equal to the demand that they have?
I think that's a discussion we need to have. And in reality, from where I see it, in our African production systems, there are things that we need to start looking and bringing back into the conversation. If I go back to what I talked about, the environment and animal welfare, animals have what we call fundamental freedoms. I would like us to be clear, they are not rights, although you'll hear a lot of people talking about animal rights. Animal rights is the extreme position. The middle ground is what we call fundamental freedoms, and animals have 5 fundamental freedoms that are critical, and in any production system or any animal system, we need to be catering for. The first freedom is that animals should be free from hunger and thirst, which basically means we must feed our animals as appropriate. So if you're going to produce animals, pigs in this case, we must ensure that the diet that we give them caters for their needs, their physiological needs, because the way you feed a piglet is not the way you feed a sow, and it's not the way you feed a boar. And I'm sure Dr. Mimo has something to say around that. The second thing is, of course, the other critical nutrient in a production system is clean, wholesome water. And I think that's one of the challenges in our context, that we forget that animals also need to have clean water to ensure that they are not thirsty. The second freedom is animals should be free, should have a comfortable environment, or a comfortable housing or shelter for that matter. And if you walk around in this country or across this continent, you'll find varying establishment which we think caters for the need of the animal, but unfortunately might not be so. When Steve was talking, he talked about barren environments. Does the environment allow the pig to do what it's supposed to do? Does the environment allow the pig to be comfortable? Does it have a comfortable resting place? And that is very important. The third thing is animals should be free from pain, injury, or disease. And again, that is something that is important. How do we manage injury? Is the environment causing injury? Is the environment, because of the shortcuts, making the animal not be able to exhibit its natural behavior? Is the environment predisposing the animal to injury, which then leads to disease, which then leads to antibiotics being put in the system? So those are things we need to look at. The fourth one is animals must be able to exhibit their natural tendencies. Pigs root. So if you put them on concrete floors, you're not allowing it the capacity to root. And that is very important. Pigs are social animals. If you then isolate them in farrowing pens, you're not allowing them to socialize. And pigs are intelligent. Part of the socialization then allows them to be able to be playful and to enjoy their life. If that is not done, you end up with a bored pig which is stressed and will lead to disease conditions that we are trying to avoid. The last one is animals should be able to exhibit their natural, the animals should be able to be free from fear and stress. And if you put them in conditions that stress them because they have nothing to do, they're bored, then you end up with a pig that is not able to perform at its optimal. All these freedoms, if we don't cater for them, the ultimate thing is that the animal underperforms. We are trying to push an increased productivity, but if you don't feed the animal appropriately, then it cannot produce. If you don't give it a good environment, which avoids it from having disease, and for it to enjoy itself, then it cannot produce optimally. So you can see the catch that we are in. We are trying to improve productivity while we are not catering for the welfare of that animal.
All right, and Dr. Mimo, I'd like to rope you in on this. Out of the 5 that Dr. Yamo has mentioned, is there one that you would isolate and say perhaps this is the biggest challenge that's being faced right now by the local, or Kenyan rather, pig producers in Kenya and maybe in the African context, if you could isolate one?
Thank you very much. I think I can isolate one is the production system that we are. Where the pigs are raised on free ranging. So these pigs are not well fed. They are just left roaming around and then maybe housed at night, but in some regions they are not even housed. Like maybe around Nairobi you could walk around and see them scavenging near the dump sites and all that. So that is the first thing that I can single out, because this is not to the pigs themselves, but also to us human beings. Wherever they scavenge, the pig is one of the animals that are reservoirs for human diseases. We call them zoonotic diseases. So if we don't raise them right and put them in a right housing and feed them well, they can scavenge and bring home diseases. Wherever they also intermingle with wild animals. And this is something that is very important. If we can raise them right, we can reduce that.
All right, Dr. Yamo, so what is Raise Pigs Right promising for pigs right now?
Thank you, Jackie. Raise Pigs Right is a campaign that is promising 5 things, 4 or 5 things for pigs. Number 1 is that we need to end raising pigs in barren environments or in cage systems. Amimo might say that that's not a problem in our current context, but the reality is that globally pigs are raised in barren environments and in cage systems, and that is one of the things, as the CEO said earlier on, we are trying to ensure that doesn't come to the African production system. The second thing is to end mutilations. Mutilations in this case is where we remove the tail of the animal or the teeth. Again, there are reasons why it is done. I think the most important thing is, can it be done humanely, painlessly, so that the animal does not feel pain? Because mutilations then lead to possibilities of the animal getting disease contamination. It's also painful to the animal itself, so we are not catering for the welfare of that animal. The third thing that we're looking at in Raise Pigs Right is to ensure that pigs are allowed to live in groups because they are social animals. And finally is to ensure that we allow pigs to be pigs. And allowing pigs to be pigs means that we allow the environment where they can root, they can socialize, and they can actually have their social behaviors catered for. So in a nutshell, that is what Raise Pigs is promising to the pig itself, which is a critical animal in this case.
All right, and I'll put this question to both of you. Dr. Mimo, you can start. Dr. Yamo, you can finish. What can one as a consumer then do in this initiative?
As a consumer? As
a consumer. Me and the people who raised their hands here today and said they enjoy the pork products, what can they as consumers do in this particular campaign, Raise Pigs Right?
I think maybe it's to know where you source your pork. Because if you know where you source your pork, the source of the pork you are eating, you should be able to be aware of the conditions to which they came from. But majorly, I think mostly the commercial system like Farmer's Choice, I think they have raised a little standard, but 70% of the pigs come from smallholder, and I think also the Farmer's Choice are not here. They have also increased the number of pigs coming from the smallholder system into their factory, but they are trying to capacity build the smallholder systems to raise the standard of raising pigs.
All right, Dr. Yamo.
Yeah, from my perspective, I want to agree with Amimo that the important thing as a consumer is to then understand where you're sourcing your animals from. That's one. But to take action. And by taking action, we mean you can actually drive the change within the production system. You can actually campaign against or sign a petition against the consumer, the producers, so that we raise that. You can also sign a petition asking the government to put relevant rules, regulations, and structures in place. For instance, some of the legislation you're using around animal welfare legislations that were done way before Jackie and myself were born in the 60s. The reality is that those legislations need to be upgraded. World Animal Protection is working with industry and with producers and government to upscale and to produce newer policies and newer standards that then drive the industry. But that needs you as a consumer to be engaged in that process and to work with us to drive that change that we want to see. As Jackie said when she started, we are the sum totality of what we eat. Thank you.
All right.
Can I add something?
Yes, sure.
I think it's true, because if the policy is there, we can raise pigs that are on pasture, but not free-ranging anywhere. You can decide to raise pigs on an environment where they are enclosed in paddocks and they are on pasture. In fact, in the Eastern Asia, now they are raising pigs on pasture, and it is a premium pork than pigs raised on commercial feeds.
All right. There's a question here asking why now? Why have this conversation now? Because we tend to have, you know, this culture where we only pick out discussions when something is happening. Why are we having a conversation on raising pigs right at this particular moment, Dr. Yam?
I think now is the right time to have this conversation. If you look at the whole production system, there will never be a right time. But the reason that we are having it now is, one, the growing human population that is driving producers to intensify the production system is making it critical for us to start having this conversation now. In the Kenyan context, one of the reasons why we need to have this conversation is because of the land pressure. We are having booming cities, especially in a country like ours where we are creating, counties are taking over land. If you look at the county next to us, Kiambu, agricultural land is being converted into buildings, which then means where are we going to raise our pigs and give them the environment that we need to engage in, and for an environment that works for them. So the reason why we are having this conversation now is to ask the younger generation, the leaders of tomorrow, to take this up, because if policy does not cater for where we are going to produce our food, then challenges will occur in that production system going forward.
Yeah. Thank you. That has been Dr. Yamo and Dr. Amimo, our panelists in this discussion now. And just to pick up from where you have left off, Dr. Yamo, how to involve the younger generation in this. And there have been 6 artists, 6 pencils, 1 gallery. We'll be showing you a clip right now of some of those who participated in an exhibition where they showcased their talent on how they could raise pigs right. We will as well be calling the head of communication, Lucy Wanjiku, who will be joining us now as we award 6 of the best. And if one of our cameramen now can just show us some of them that are right here. We have very beautiful art from some of our young people. They'll be calling upon Lucy, who will now take over as we award those 6 who were able to showcase their talent through pencil art. Can you believe it? Pencil art. Mr. CEO, how good are you in your in your art?
I would not make it onto the stage.
Not at all? Not by a long shot? No. All right. Lucy, if you could join us now, we'll move to awarding those who participated in the exhibition. Thank you, Lucy.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. And happy to have you viewers with us and the audience. As has been said before, World Animal Protection partnered with Kenya National Theatre. We worked with 6 artists. Some were professional artists, some were new artists, but they all did an amazing job. So today is the D-Day. We want to award them. We will start, but the good thing is we award, everyone is a winner, is it? Everyone is a winner for this, and we are very happy that they volunteered their services. There was an exhibition here for 4 days. They all came, and you are part of that people, you know, those people who came here, You saw the art, you did your comments, so today we want to award them. So what I'm going to do, I'll start with we are 6, and I hope they are all here. So I'll call each one of them on stage, starting with Steve Owino. Stephen Owino, are you here? Stephen Owino? He was one of the participants. I'll ask them to come very quickly. And this certificate will be awarded by, let me see, by Edith. Edith, my colleague Edith, please come do award. Steve gets a certificate of participation in the Art for Animals competition. So he gets, yeah, please come and award. This is a certificate for, that is Steve. Our next person is Castor Ojwang. Castor Ojwang did very well also. He gets a certificate of participation. I'm told he's not here. So I'll ask Ken. Ken, our curator from Kenya National Theatre, he worked so hard also to put this together. Please clap for him. So he's receiving, Jackie, please award Ken on behalf of Costa. Yeah. So you get on behalf of, yes. Our next artist who gets certificate of participation is Joseph Mbogwa. Joseph Mbogwa, please. Joseph Mbogwa, are you here? Okay, he's not here. Again, I'll ask Ken, please come and get the certificate for him. Yeah. Please. Next is Nuru Bahati. Nuru Bahati is the second runners-up. Applause for him. He's our second runners-up. And at this moment, I'll ask, he knows himself. Please come and award. Ricardo works for our international office. He's the head of policy and external affairs. So please do come and award Nuru Bahati. Nuru Bahati, second runners-up. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Our first runners-up is yes, first runners-up is Nancy Cheragat. Chela. Chela, are you here? Yeah, Chela is over here. Please, a loud applause for her. Yeah. Nancy Chera, she was actually the only female or lady artist in this. So, Makofi. Yeah. Nancy Cheragat, she also works with a lot of paint and good texture. So I'll ask our country director, Tennyson, to come over here and award Cheragat for this. So she gets a certificate of participation and first runners-up for this. So here you go. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, this is big. We have a winner, guys. We have a winner for our Art for Pigs, Raise Pigs Art Exhibition. And the winner is a very well-spoken gentleman who works with charcoal, and he also works with pencil, he works with paint. He told me it's abstract art. Very, very beautiful work. And what his art did, he was able to connect the ancient times when the humankind was very good to animals to now when we are forgetting where we came from. So he really took us on a journey where we have committed ourselves to go back to what we used to do, be kind to animals, ensure that the animals are raised properly, and that they enjoy their freedoms. Bob Wairegi. I asked Steve to come and award the certificate. Bob Wairegi, a young artist, and he said this is the first time he's getting into a competition. So, Steve, please, into a competition.
I'll just say one thing, if you don't
One
mind.
thing, yes.
I can speak very loud, but I just wanted to say we actually showed all of the work to all of our teams around the world yesterday, and actually we got a note through saying just how inspiring the pieces of work were. So thank you for all of you, and particularly well done. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Sure. And I'll also ask Bob just to say something as we close, as a winner.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite a big crowd. And I'm honored to be here, even as, having a certificate for the first time in my life. Interacting with some of the artists, Nuru Bahati, Chela, these are guys who are really good in their game. And from them I've learned so much. And even working with you guys, it's an honor. I'm so thankful for that. And I hope we'll get to do even more and expound even on a worldly perspective. We travel the world, draw the animals, show the world what it is to actually a good welfare system, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll hand over to Jackie.
Thank you, Lucy. Wow, another round of applause for our winners today. And as we come to our close to our program, remember you can join this conversation beyond even what we are doing here today. And as we have seen from those who have been awarded this morning, any form of art, any form of expression that you have goes a long way into ensuring that we play our part in raising pigs' rights. And we will continue with that hashtag for as long as is possible. The hashtag will be Raise Pigs' Rights. And so World Animal Protection's promise for pigs, as Dr. Yamo and Dr. Mimo aptly put it, is to end cages and barren environments, to end painful mutilations, to keep pigs in groups, because don't we all want to live in our natural habitats, right? Can you imagine if we were all caged every single day? We have no association. You cannot sit with the people that you're sitting with here today. What kind of life would that be? So in as much as we want that for ourselves as humans, remember, as Dr. Yamo corrected, there are freedoms, right, for animals as well. So let pigs be pigs. Let pigs be pigs, free to socialize and express their natural behavior. It has been a pleasure moderating for you this morning. My name is Jackie Maribe. And Lucy feels that you people are just sat down and don't feel like you're warm enough because it has been raining a lot this morning. So, as we wind up, we will be welcoming the Poetry After Lunch. Poetry After Lunch, if you're here with us, I'll invite Kenneth B. to welcome those who will entertain us as we close this program. Kenneth.
Thank you, Jackie. You don't have to own a degree in linguistics to speak the language of pigs. I know we all come from different backgrounds, but love takes us to the journey of raising pigs right. And I want to hear from all of you, raise pigs right. Just say after me. Raise pigs right. Again, raise pigs right. Frenzy, raise pigs right. Again, raise pigs right. And our first performer comes on stage.
Hey guys, so I've come to diss those who discriminate pigs. So hope you'll help me to diss them. in my district, people tend to be more strict in matters of pigs. Even my best friend Grace thinks they are a disgrace. Their presence displeases her, because in the Bible, she thinks they have mental disorder. Well, if you take a motion to Parliament about pigs protection, some disordered MPs will dismiss it. Well, if you still live on myths, I disbelieve it. They say they disgust when they play on mud. I disagree. I think your mind is muddy. Disinfect it. If you're discomfortable, then they are comfortable cooling their bodies. Because if you distinguish them from humans, they lack sweat glands. It's so disappointing how you point fingers to poke them on social media. If you see their photos, you dislike them, yet to like eating their pork in this cause without leaving reminders, because their meat are not disposable. They can be used to make sausages and meatloaf. If you're closer to them, you'll discover how they are so disciplined. You'll want to be their disciples so that you can see how they snuggle nose to nose without disconnecting. How does it feel when someone stabs you? It is disturbing, right? That's how pigs feel when they are mutilated here, not with no pain relief. Distress, depress is such a dishonor for us to enclose them in cages and barren environment instead of closing them to distribute and pay tribute to one another. I'm so quiet, because if you have no courage to discourage pigs discrimination, then we have to discontinue in this school of knowledge. Because if you get a pass, you'll not pass this information. Because even Winston Churchill famously said, dogs cannot describe what's up, but look up to man. Cats are short, but look down to man. But pigs look straight to the eyes and sees an equal. So if you think you're unequal to pigs, take a pause. Dispose that thought. Hashtag raise pigs' rights. And if it is interesting, follow me on Instagram at Frenzy the Poet, or in Box Me for performances. Or you can follow me, I drive you to chicken. Yeah.
Our referred pilots, esteemed travelers, welcome aboard this Airbus. Belts tight, ready for flight. On we move. You are as hog or as swine, but no matter how big, they'll all call you pig. Before me is the large chopping board and the knife, but please don't make this world the chopping board and the knife life. To be beaten and bruised, eaten and chewed, shitted and drooled for the ship you cruise is a ship of honor. You pig, you hear a human tell another. You're not dumb, hear this, coming from your mother. You're an intelligent one, you know. Let it not be my word against theirs. But when you call her, you pig, and shout. David Frasco proved that only the pig can move a cursor by the snout. So please, don't make this world the chopping board and the knife life. As you wallow on the mud, they call you mud on this land. But that proves that you are unknowingly the smartest on this land, because you wallow on the mud, because pigs don't have sweat glands. So please, don't make this world the chopping board and the knife life.
When they first had my grant, they took me for a dad, claiming that one is never enough. When NEMA came to our intervention banning paper bags, humans take us as omnivorous. Not only omnivorous, yani tunakula kila kitu. We have been trapped behind the floorboard of a pyramid, living filthy. We feel guilty. Why do we have to exist? Because when syringes down in our knees, oh, Oh pigs, oh pigs. They are raised in enclosed structures or in open farms due to misconception that they are dirty creatures. Some farmers do not focus on keeping them in good conditions, yet expecting good produce. Or maybe, should the pig, don't trust too much, don't hope too much, because that much may hurt it so much. Hashtag raise pig rights.
Go brothers.
Raise pigs rights. 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 Raise pigs rights.
This cage is so dirty and thin. It's hard for me to breathe. I haven't eaten in days. I'm so helpless.
You don't want to kill me, but you're killing me.
Don't leave me to die.
Don't kill me. It isn't my time.
I'm not loved.
I'm betrayed into a cage. Can anyone speak for me?
I lay here dying and unloved.
As I'm being tossed away with banana peels and other gluttonous garbage, I need you to speak for me.
Because I long for the cold dew grass provides between my wolves.
I long for freedom taken from me.
Driven around like slaves, beaten and tortured. I'm trapped in my own pain,
my own sorrows.
This cage is cold and cruel.
I'm turned for commercial benefits,
giving birth for more and more. Mine taken away from me.
I face abandonment, no mercy.
Frustration is the order of the day.
Mkuki kwa binadamu, mchungu kwa nguruwe mtamu.
Really? How they slaughter us is painful to think about.
We face daily cruelty with no mercy. I know no such word as care.
But I know my freedom, so please, raise pigs rights. 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 Raise pigs rights.
Sikiza sauti. Niko hali maututi.
Ndani ya cage says a prisoner wala kwa concrete.
Sina meno.
Ziligraidiwa nikiona. Ningekuwa nazo ningepata hizi chains na nibind si feel free. Siwezi roam.
Niko stressed. Juzi nilikuwa na piglets. Niligive birth in pain. After all that,
in 3 weeks Kenya were the only family I ever had. That's why niko stressed.
So ukiniona na bite tail ya my fellow pig, usini blame. This is a still cage na solitary na make me lose my mind. Juu na go in cycles. Ukitest sweet sausage kwa hotel,
jiulize ni nguru ngapi unapitia pain.
Ndio filio utamu.
Usinitenge.
Juu siku moja watakutenga pia.
Usinitese.
Juu siku moja watateseka pia.
Usinilenge.
Juu siku moja watakulenga pia.
Usinitese.
Juu siku moja watateseka pia.
Cheki vile hiyo pigi imechapa. Hivyo ndo ubongo akinicheki mtaa. Next ukibanda mama pima nikifeed on the west food after nitupa kwa jar.
But wait, is it my fault that I'm in this state?
No, bila kujali chunga mama kwa mwana. I was taken away soon after my birth. So young and innocent, ni wapi napelekwa? Ni wapi naenda kuwekwa?
Hey, my mom is crying, sir. Take me back to her. I wanna be with her.
I wanna spend some time with her.
I'm begging, sir.
Please have mercy on her. Raise pigs rights. Raise pigs rights. Raise pigs rights.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Raise pigs rights. Do not poke yourself into their nature. Hence, freeze pig rights on supermarkets. Profit, dig rights, more feet, room for space, end cages, stop pages, open mutilations. Let mother pigs stay with the piglets. Let pigs be pigs. Let pigs be pigs. Do not poke yourself into their nature. Raise pigs rights.
Raise pigs rights. Raise pigs rights. Raise pigs rights. Raise pigs rights. This is Africa.
I think those young people have summarized that event quite appropriately. Raise Pigs Right. That was a public dialogue and art exhibition hosted by the World Animal Protection. Artists who took part in a competition were also awarded. The top 3 were awarded during that public dialogue. And of course, this public dialogue, as a result of a report titled Exposing the Facts of Factory Farming, that discourages factory farming, which involves the confinement of pigs in small cages, limiting their freedom and subjecting them to various problems.